The Russian state TV employee who stormed a TV set to denounce Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine, providing a rare moment of dissent on air inside the country, was fired today. I should say fined today by a Russian court. More punishment expected to come. We can show her leaving court there. Interrogation after arrest went about 14 hours. She also says she did not sleep for 2 days. That sign you may have heard about came on screen. It said "No war," and then told viewers they were being lied to. It played out on live TV before the broadcast was able to cut away.
Российский премьер подчеркнул, надо усилить сотрудничество в рамках союзного государства, а на совещании в правительстве обсуждали, как сохранить.
Before interrupting that newscast, the same individual made a separate video criticizing the war. Today, a Russian court finding her 30,000 rubles. That's about $280 for the earlier video. She could, though, face something that we were discussing earlier in the broadcast, a potential criminal prosecution for that type of speech, albeit on a sign. Russia has passed a new law just since this war began, which purports to threaten to put people in prison for up to 15 years for speech. Over 14,000 people have also been detained in Russia for protests relating to the war. There's a video that shows a woman arrested for holding up even a blank sign. You see it there to make the point. We have a special guest right now with truly unique insights into the Kremlin. Andrei Kozyrev was the Russian foreign minister from 1991 to 1996 under President Yeltsin. You see him there. He was also the first person to effectively serve that role in the post-Soviet era. He also developed Russia's foreign policy immediately after the fall of the Soviet Union, a time of intense transition. And we should note the current foreign minister for Putin, Sergei Lavrov, got his start as this man, Kozyrev's deputy. Kozyrev left the Russian government in 2000, which was the same year Putin became president for the first time. He has become something of a critic of Mr. Putin. Mr. Minister, thank you for coming back on the beat, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
What do you see in that type of crackdown on the people who do protest the war or the Putin government right now inside Russia?
It's Orwell comes into reality. You know, it's they try to impose new Novayaz, Russian newspeak, like what you can say, even words, or what you cannot say. But this Marina Ovsyannikova, who actually broke into the broadcast, she is a hero because she is a mature lady. She has 2 children, and she knew what she was doing and what was the risk, and she took this risk. And I will tell you that this will resonate, and already resonates, not only all over the world, but in Russia. There are many now reports, though I cannot confirm them evidently, but that there is considerable discontent all over Russian broadcasting systems and other channels. And that, so she probably did a tremendous job.
Mr. Kozyrev, you served under the Yeltsin administration. You were the chief diplomat dealing with issues all over the world. When you look at this situation, what does it tell you as we look at the nexus, the link between the disinformation coming out of the Kremlin and the situation on the ground, that rather than selling this war, which is a feature in many countries, justifying this war, Mr. Putin has decided that his best domestic message or propaganda is to disappear this war, to pretend that it either isn't happening at all or that it is so minor as to not be the land war, the greatest land war in Europe since World War II, which it in reality is. And I say as an addendum to that question, the protest signs aren't saying always that war is bad or Putin is bad. Some of the protest signs just say, by the way, there is a war. What does all of that say to you as someone who's been on the inside?
Well, I think he overestimated his ability to conquer and his army's ability to conquer and weakness of Ukraine. And that's why he termed it an operation, meaning probably that it's just something limited in time and maybe even limited in scale because he thought that it would be very easy. But he failed. I mean, it's a real war now, and he does not want to recognize it himself, I think. And definitely he does not want Russian people to understand what is happening. So he is now resorting to barbaric bombardment and barbaric ways of waging this war, hoping to end it before the Russian people wakes up. And what will wake up Russian people? Young ladies like this one, like heroes, who speak openly and inside there, and the shock therapy, what I call shock therapy, when they start feeling, not immediately, it takes time, but when people start feeling the hardship, the shortages probably in the stores, it's painful and it's regrettable on one side because it's ordinary people, but it's probably necessary to wake them up and to start this war between the refrigerator and TV set, you know?
Yeah.
And so far, TV set is winning, still winning over refrigerator. But when refrigerator becomes empty, that might be a different contest between refrigerator and TV.
When you say TV set versus refrigerator, you're talking about the domestic population's ability to buy in a certain narrative or accept it for a period of time versus the hardcore realities of the cost of this war for them?
You know, most of the young people, they don't even watch TV because they try to take their information from internet because they know that those are lies, as Marina said. But many other people, elderly people, and people who live outside of big cities like Moscow, St. Petersburg, they still watch TV. TV set is their source of information, and that, of course, controlled by propaganda. It's all propaganda. That's why she's heroic, because she went on that TV, which is used as propaganda and controlled every word uttered at these propaganda channels. And all of a sudden she comes and says, oh, this king is naked. That's what she did.
Yeah, exactly. And as you say, there's always the question of what the competing sources of information are. The crackdown on social media and Facebook, a reminder that, yes, it's an internet-connected age, as many say, but not if you live in a place where the government can cut that cord, then you're suddenly disconnected until, as you say, the refrigerator, if I can paraphrase the blunt way you put it, the refrigerator is bare and life changes. I'm just at the end of our time. The last question for you is, there's been many outsiders discussing Putin's state of mind. Of course, we journalistically can't report what we cannot confirm, but there are people who've been around him and people who've observed the COVID meetings, the long table, the isolation, some of which we do see on TV in his meetings. What do you think of the way he's operating? Is this the same old Putin and they got to deal with him? Or do you see any evidence that he has somehow changed, altered, or become more isolated?
Well, everybody changes and he becomes elder, of course, but he's as crazy as a fox, you know, a rather sly fox, though. I mean, you know what I mean?
I do.
Willy fox, not a very smart fox, but crazy as a Willy fox. That's what he is. I mean, he pretends to be like unstable even, or like, you know, unpredictable, but he is very calculative and he knows what he's doing. So don't worry. Many people now start to worry in America and elsewhere in the West to give him a face-saving device or exit from the situation. He is big boy, and he knows how to exit situations. And first, rein him in, and after that, worry about his exit strategy. He is still not on unleash. And I mean, like, rub his nose and his regime's nose, so to say. Then they will probably start looking for a way out. They will find the way out without those, useful idiots who are now busy with fighting for him the way out.
Yeah. Always interesting speaking with you. We speak to a lot of experts, people with different types of experience or time in the field. But you're one of our few guests who's been inside the Kremlin. Russia's former foreign minister, Andrei Kozyrov. Thank you, sir.